Well, hello and welcome, everybody. This is Ken D. Foster. Today we have a really powerful show for you, so stay tuned. It's going to be amazing. Listen, I interviewed or listened to an interview yesterday with Trevor Noah and Bill Gates. Bill was very clear on his agenda. He let us know that him and his partners were working on 7 different virus vaccinations and spending billions on research. And most importantly, manufacturing of the vaccinations and what's going on there is that he believes that the way this is going to actually end is that everybody's going to be tested and everybody's going to be vaccinated before this all ends. Anyway, you can find the interview on Google. Just Google it, Bill Gates and Trevor Noah. It's very interesting, but it's insightful as to what the future looks like, at least in the world of Bill Gates and Trevor Noah. So, I'm getting the message, and I'm sure you're getting the message, that the world's going to look a little different when we come out of this. And some of you are in a place of maybe fear or panic. You maybe have lost your job, or, your job may be going away. You may need to do something different. And some of you are in places where you've been ill or sick, or loved ones have been sick. But a lot of people are going through a change, and I want to say there's some grief around it. Right? We're kind of grieving the past. We want something to be different. Well, listen. Here's what I know. I've listened to a lot of people and a lot of information on. From the government side, from the main media side, from the dark media side, from the conspiracy theories. I listened to all of it because I think what we need to be informed at this time. And here's what I've come up with. I think that we need to, no matter who you are or where you are, this is a time for you to prepare mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually for what's coming. And I don't say that lightly. I believe that we need to educate ourselves and protect our families. We need to get in the right state of mind. Today, I'm going to help you, along with my guests, to get that state of mind in a place where you feel empowered. You let go of, fear is false evidence appearing real, right? There's a lot of fear going on. There's a lot of false evidence appearing real. And there's some real fears that we need to address right now. We have to start to, I believe, move into a place where there are certain things that we aren't going to be able to change. Maybe in the what the government's doing, or what Bill Gates's agenda is, or whatever, you may not be able to change that. Okay, 5G is probably here, and it's probably going to roll out. So we have to look at places where we can actually empower ourselves and take our lives to the next level by really reprogramming our thinking and stepping into that power that's within you, within me, within all of us. It's a power greater than all of this stuff that lives in each one of us, right? One of the reasons I wrote my book, The Courage to Change Everything, is to help people to download astute wisdom every day into their minds, and also to be able to understand some of the cutting edge success principles that we've learned here in the West, and also be able to take some specific action. So you may want to check out that book at couragetochange.us, couragetochange.us. Also, I think we need to prepare emotionally. And emotionally, I believe we need to start to really maybe take some time with ourselves, maybe write out our fears, or where we feel afraid, or where we feel like this is going to harm us, or where we feel like we're going to be in a place that's going to be terrible. We're going to lose our job. So we need to kind of get it out of our head and let it go. Why? Because that stuff is driving you emotionally. And if you're not feeling calm and peaceful, if you're feeling stressed because of what's going on, you're not going to make good choices. So I believe we need to do that emotionally. In the physical environment, I know my wife is very sensitive to 5G. We live next to a tower. So what she's done is we've gotten a whole bunch of different people in, and a lot of advice that has been given to us about how to step up and protect the environment from the radiation that's basically everywhere, but how to step that up in our environment. So I think you need to research that. By the way, I did a show all about how to protect yourself from 5G last week. It's on our website at couragetochange.us, couragetochange.us. Also, physically, it's kind of a no-brainer, but it almost seems like, sugar's in everything, right? And, we really need to cut out some of the sugars in our life if you want to have a strong immune system. And, it's not brain science. We need to cut out some of the sugars. We need to eat mostly plant-based foods or foods that are not made from man to have the vital energy. Probably organic is best if you can. And we also need to exercise. I mean, if you're doing that, we all have time to do that now. So why not step into that? And then spiritually, here's my hit. I was meditating this morning. I went into a deep meditation this morning, about an hour and a half. And it really dawned on me that we need to grow spiritually, all of us. And, what that means is that when we are raising our energy, raising that vibration, I don't know what you want to call it. I call it tapping into the superconscious mind. Some people call it tapping into the Holy Spirit or the Holy Ghost. But there's an energy, there's a vibration that we raise ourselves into, and when we're in that vibration, we get the wisdom, we get understanding, we get the next step for ourselves, and I believe that vibration will be shown someday. That vibration is the vibration that really protects us from everything. So I think we need to do that. So all of us need to do that. So, that's my hit. Those are just a few tips that I'd like to give you. You may say, oh, this is all bogus, I'm going to throw it all out. But, I encourage you to really educate yourself. And that's why I do this show. When I started Voices of Courage, I knew this. I knew that we had enough information on the planet. If you need information, just Google it. But what we needed to do is we needed to bring in wisdom, which is why I'm bringing in the guest that I'm bringing in today. I'd like to introduce my first guest today. His name is Dr. John Chuback. He's an MD. He's the founder of Chuback Education, which offers written audio programs to help people achieve personal excellence. His passion is to assist patients with weight management, smoking cessation, and personal development. He's also written a book that I have read from cover to cover. It's called Make Your Own Damn Cheese. It's all about personal responsibility and stepping up into your own power. And it's uncanny, actually. So that's why I'm having you back. Dr. John Chuback, I'd like to welcome you to the show. And you might want to unmute yourself there. I just unmuted you. You're there. Hi, welcome.
Hi, Ken. Good to be back with you. It's great, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Well, listen, there's a lot going on in the world today. What's your hit on what's happening today?
Well, you're right. There's a lot going on, and this is something unprecedented for us. But there have been many unprecedented events that we have coped with as a country and as a species before, many times, over and over again. And we will cope with this period of time as well. And we will come through it together. And that's what we're in the process of doing right now, quite frankly.
Well, I think we are. And I think one of the things that I've noticed out there, it's, I went to shopping this week and everybody had their mask on and, but I look past masks. I look at their eyes. I look at into the souls of people. And I really got the feeling that there's sure a lot of uncertainty out there, to say the least, and probably outright fear and worry and concern that's going on in the world. So how do we stay positive in a time like this, Dr. Chuback?
Well, I think it's times like this where staying positive is more important than any other time. In other words, when things are going great, it's easy to be positive. So this whole genre and area of study that you and I are involved in, and many people are so interested in, is most relevant and most powerful when things are not going well. When things are going well, it's easy to be positive. So I think one of the things that we need to do is to stand guard at the gate of our mind, so that we make it our daily practice to remain informed, but but not inundated with information. We want to remain informed of what the circumstances are, how to best protect ourselves and our families and our children and our friends and our community as a whole and our world as a whole. But we do not want to overexpose ourselves to endless, non-ceasing amounts of information that can be redundant and that can ultimately not only be of very little value, but can be very, very damaging to the psyche.
That's really good. Well, listen, I got to take a break. When I come back, though, let's take a deeper dive into some of the ways that we can stay positive, because there's a lot happening out there. And I love what you just said, though. Turn off the TV is what you're saying. So don't watch so much, and you'll probably be in a better place. We'll be right back. I'm going to take a deeper dive with you as soon as we come back. Well, welcome back, everybody. Today, our show is called The Courage to Stay Positive in Changing Times. Before I get back to my guest, Dr. John Chuback, I'd like to acknowledge that there's a lot of great content that are going on out around the world. And some of that great content is on two stations. Actually, they're networks, two networks that we're on, UK Health Radio and E360 TV, and there's a third one, actually. It's Talk Radio New York City. All three of these networks are dedicated to empowering you to solve problems, uplift your spirit, and become the best version of yourself. I encourage you to tune into them at ukhealthradio.com, talkradio.nyc, and E360 TV. Also, if you're a company or organization is out to change the world and you need a team that produces results to take your message to the next level, Wasabi Publicity is the perfect fit. They have been recognized by PR Week and Good Morning America for their innovative business practices. If you're an author, a speaker, a trainer, or an organization committed to making a difference in the world, and you need a partner to support you with PR, go to wasabipublicity.com. Again, wasabipublicity.com. If you can mention you heard them from Voices of Courage, that's great. If you do, the CEO, Drew Gerber, will actually give you some of his time and talk to you about your PR needs. So again, wasabipublicity.com. All right, I'm with Dr. John Chuback. He's the founder of Chuback Educational, which offers written and audio programs to help people achieve personal excellence in their life. Wow. All right. It's personal excellence in your life today. How do we step into that, Dr. Chuback?
Well, I think, again, we need to filter what we're getting. We have to maybe carve out a daily plan for those of us who are here in the Northeast, just outside of Manhattan. We're staying at home and not quite on a complete lockdown, but certainly being advised to stay at home and follow all of the good health recommendations that the health officials are putting out, such as social distancing and hand washing and excellent hygienic behaviors like avoiding touching the face and so forth. But once we have this sort of information well understood, then it's important that we don't go back and back and back again throughout the day to find out what's happening moment to moment, because that amount of information, as I said earlier, can be very damaging and overwhelming to the psyche. So I think it's much healthier to pick a couple of times throughout the day, maybe first thing in the morning, maybe once in the evening for 5 or 10 minutes, to make ourselves aware of what the latest updates and health advisories may be. But other than that, to then close that that never-ending stream of media noise to the conscious mind so that we can be at peace and try to find some level of relaxation and normalcy in our day.
That's really good. You know, one of the things you talk about it is that, you know, just acknowledge our thoughts that's going on. They're normal. They're not abnormal. I mean, I can really relate to that. I walked into the store a couple of weeks ago, and everything had really kind of changed, the social distancing and what have you. And I just, you know, I'm very sensitive to energy, and I felt I picked it up. I was like, oh my gosh, all these thoughts coming in. Is this normal? And what's your answer to that?
Of course it's normal. These are uncertain times. These are new times. And whenever there's change, the body goes into what we call a negative vibration, a state of dis-ease. So when we're in a state of dis-ease, it is an uncomfortable feeling. And that's when we have to go back and take control of the mind and say to yourself, well, I know what I can do. I know what the steps are that I'm supposed to take to be safe under these circumstances, and then go ahead and do that. Do your hand washing, do your social distancing, be careful when you're out in public in terms of avoiding large crowds. When you do your shopping, of course, there's a lot of good information when you come home, how to disinfect your groceries and things like that. Take all of those steps, but don't allow them to overwhelm you and make you feel paranoid per se, that you're going to catch something, you're going to get sick, etc. On the other hand, look at it from the opposite direction, which is, hey, I'm doing everything I can to protect myself. I'm following all the steps that have been advised. So I'm in power in this situation. I'm taking control of the situation. And this way, you're going to come from a feeling of much more positivity than a feeling than a position of helplessness and hopelessness and negativity.
That's great. Well, listen, I want to talk a little bit about your book. And actually, I want to talk a lot because I got you on this this segment. We're going to talk a little more on the next segment. It's called Make Your Own Damn Cheese. And listen, I read this book cover to cover. It is a great book. I just want to read this. It says in page, let's see, number, I don't know, I can't even read pages now. Anyway, cheese is anything you wish to be in your conscious mind. If you focus on the cheese you want for long enough, it will be adapted by the subconscious mind and it eventually crosses the physical barrier. It will then manifest in reality through the process we call transmutation. Can we talk a little bit about transmutation in a positive way that's going on right now, how we can use that subconscious mind to really start to program what we want and have more certainty in our life, I guess, is what we need.
Of course. I mean, I think right now, one of the quote unquote cheeses that are out there, and cheese is just a metaphor for anything that it is that you would desire in your life. It's not just about financial success and professional success by any means. It's not meant to be that by any means. That's one thing you might be looking at in your life. But at all times in our life, and especially right now, one of the major goals that we all have is to remain healthy, to remain safe. So good health is a cheese, quote unquote, and personal safety is a cheese, and security for yourself and your family and friends is a cheese. So how do we make that cheese? How do you transmute that desire from a thought into the physical realm as an actual manifestation? This is not metaphysics I'm talking about here. This is something very real and very tangible. So what do I mean by that? If it is your focus to be healthy and you're thinking about being healthy most of the time, if those are the thoughts that are in your conscious mind, then your subconscious mind will adopt that as your belief system, as the way you see yourself in the world. And then you do things once your subconscious mind has adopted that belief system as your paradigm or your self-concept. Then your body, which is the instrument of the mind, begins to behave in such a way habitually that you bring those things to pass. So as you were mentioning earlier, Ken, you start eating better. You start eating a more nutritious diet. You start eating a more plant-based diet. You start eating more organically based foods as much as you can. You're exercising more. You're doing more cardio training. You're doing more strength training. So you're actually doing things, taking true action. This is not some mystical process. By thinking a certain way, you start to believe certain things, you start to behave a certain way, and then by habitually acting in that manner, you manifest good health.
That's great. That's great. Well, listen, I'm going to have to take a break in a second, and then I'm going to have you back in the next segment. Make Your Own Damn Cheese. Where do people get the book?
They can certainly find it on Amazon.com. It's in the Barnes and Nobles across the country. I believe it's in several thousand Rite Aids in their self-help section and their little book section there as well. Those are all the places. Thank you.
That's great. Okay, we're going to come back, and I want to pick your brain a little bit about how some of these principles are actually working in your life, and also, how do we stay present right now with everything that's going on to really start to pivot and and start to vision what the world's going to look like next. So we'll be right back. Well, welcome back to Voices of Courage. Today, our show is called The Courage to Stay Positive in Changing Times. I would like to give out a shout out to a great event that's happening this week, actually tomorrow, on the internet. It's a group called Women's Wisdom. So if you're a woman, pay attention. Women's Wisdom is putting on a networking and celebrity speaker event to help those that are wanting to pivot their businesses in these changing times. They have two speakers that will be there. One is Mari Smith, who traveled around the world with Mark Zuckerberg, teaching about how to utilize Facebook properly. And the other one is Sharon Lechter. Sharon Lechter was involved with the Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote the books Rich Dad, Poor Dad. She was actually the partner of him and helped him get that out worldwide. And I think even more importantly, she's associated with the Napoleon Hill Foundation and wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich for Women, which the foundation embraces. And so she'll be there speaking. You can find all about this at womenswisdom.net. Again, you go to womenswisdom.net. That's womenswisdom.net to be part of this great event that's taking place tomorrow, April 9th at 11 to 1 Pacific time. Also, they have ongoing events. So if you missed that one, you'll be able to get the next one. All righty. I'm in studio here with Dr. John Chuback. He's an MD. He's the founder of the Chuback Educational Company, which offers written and audio programs to help people to achieve personal excellence in their lives. And he's done so much more. I'm just giving you a piece of that. Dr. Chuback, okay, I want to ask you about personally.
I'm sorry, Ken, I think you were muted for a moment there.
All righty. Well, listen, since I was muted, I'm going to have to welcome everybody back to the show. The show is called The Courage to Stay Positive in Challenging Times, and this is a challenging time for most of us. I'd also like to give a shout out to an organization called Women's Wisdom. Women's Wisdom is an organization that's been helping entrepreneurs change their businesses and grow their lives since 1991. They have an online global event that is kicking off tomorrow morning at 11 to 1 Pacific time. And you can find it at womenswisdom.net, womenswisdom.net. They are doing a online networking event where you'll be able to meet a whole bunch of new people. Plus, they're bringing in 2 celebrity speakers. One is Mari Smith with she traveled the world with Mark Zuckerberg over the last couple of years, teaching business owners how to use Facebook effectively. And also Sharon Lechter. Sharon has been she's worked with Robert Kiyosaki as his partner for the Rich Dad, Poor Dad series. And I think even more importantly, she's aligned herself with the Napoleon Hill Foundation. And she has written a book called Think and Grow Rich for Women, which is supported by that Napoleon Hill Foundation. So she'll be one of the speakers. Again, you can find them at womenswisdom.net, womenswisdom.net. All right, John Chuback. Dr. John Chuback is in studio with me. He's the founder of the Chuback Education company, which offers written and audio programs to help people achieve personal excellence. Dr. Chuback, let me just ask you, in your personal life, how are you applying the book principles, Make Your Own Damn Cheese, with what's going on today with the coronavirus and being shut down? How are you applying those principles in your own life?
Well, I think, again, everything goes back to how we're thinking and how we utilize our conscious mind to program our subconscious belief systems, and that then affects our behaviors and our results. Currently, one of the things that I've been studying again on a daily basis, because I think it's important for all of us to study, just as we should eat well and we should exercise for the body, we should also be studying each and every day positivity and good mental health for the mind. And one of the ideas I've been going over again now is what's called the law of opposites, also known as the law of cause and effect. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. We know that in physics, and we know this to be a law of the universe. So one of the things I try to remind myself of right now to stay very positive in this very difficult and stressful time is just that. For every circumstance, for every sunrise, there's a sunset. For every morning, there's a night. For every winter, there's a summer. And for all of the bad which is coming out of this situation, there will be a tremendous amount, exactly equal amount of good. I don't know exactly when, I don't know exactly how, but I think we're already seeing some of that. People pulling together, not only in our communities, but around the world, countries, nations. As a species, we're doing that. I think we're going to see more people get involved after this episode subsides, and it's already happening in terms of producing better vaccines, medications, and preparation for these kinds of pandemics in the future, more ventilators, a system that's prepared to react very quickly, et cetera. I do think that there are great things coming after this very, very difficult and dark time.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more, and that's important point. The opposites, because we do live in duality. There is good and bad. There is light and dark, and when the dark is here, a lot of times that is the time, like I talked earlier, to go down, go deep within your own self, start to realize what's working in my life, what's not working in my life, what do I need to improve, change, or develop now to take me into the next level. And whether that's, going back to school for somebody that's maybe lost their position and thought, well, I have another dream, I'd like to go to school. Or maybe it's somebody starting a business. When I was early on in this coronavirus, I thought to myself, well, masks are going to be a thing of the future. So who's going to design the first designer mask that we wear? Who's going to design the mask that is made of bamboo and fabric, which I've heard you can't have viruses or bacteria can't live on bamboo. I don't know if that's true or not, but the point is there's going to be some real innovation here. Dr. Chuback, what do you see as the innovation that's coming?
I think that there are going to be, as I said, tremendous forces in play, both public and private, that are going to be determined to do everything in their power to prevent this kind of a massive pandemic outbreak in the future. So there's going to be better preparation. More ventilators will be on hand. There will probably be teams of medical experts, both state and federal, prepared to be deployed in short periods of time, setting up hospitals for viral disease and infectious disease and so on and so forth. So I think that with every challenge that we've ever faced as a species, it's the challenge that is the cause, and that always prompts an effect, a response. And like all of those other challenges, whether they were wars, whether they were disease, whether they were famine, whether they were natural disasters, each time humankind is faced with one of these incredible, almost inconceivable problems, we always rise to the occasion and we make the world a better place and a safer place for the future.
Do you think the vaccines are they're kind of the Band-Aid, or do you think there's, we haven't talked about this and we're running out of time, but I want to pick your brain because you're a doctor. What do you think the cause of this is? I mean, is it poor health? Is it what we're putting in our bodies, what we're putting in our minds, what we're putting in our environments? Because I think the vaccine might help, but is that really is the vaccine our savior? I guess is my question.
Well, nothing is going to be a savior in the sense that it's going to be a fail-safe. I do believe a vaccine will be very, very helpful, as we've seen in many global diseases around the world. But I do think it's also multifactorial. One of the things that we're seeing in the medical community right now, and that's not a secret, is that the most vulnerable in terms of severe illness and even fatality with this particular virus are those who are in more advanced years and, of course, poor physical and medical condition, those with multiple what we call comorbidities: hypertension, obesity, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, kidney insufficiency, et cetera. So the best thing that we can all do, as you've pointed out many times, Ken, is to take the best care of our health that we can and be as healthy as we can so that we have the strongest possible immune system, because our own personal immunity, there's nothing that is going to ever substitute for that. So to be as healthy, fit, and strong as you can is one of the things that you can take personal responsibility for and create that change in your life.
That's good. And I believe it's never too late. So no matter where you are, even if you are in a place where you feel like your immune system's compromised, your body's compromised, you're having some, even mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, you can step in and grow. One of the ways you can do that is getting this book, Make Your Own Damn Cheese. It's why I had Dr. Chuback back on my show, and I love to have him back again because he's really delivered in this little book succinct ways that we can use our mind to change and also take specific actions to really change what's going on in your life. So I hope you'll take me up. Again, we can get that on Amazon. And Dr. Chuback, any final thoughts for us today?
I just want everybody out there to stay positive. These are really trying times. We're all going to be affected one way or another by this current infectious outbreak, either people we know or personally, et cetera. But remain positive and know that this time will pass. This very severe period will come down off of its highs. Please do everything you can to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your community by following all of the advice given by the infectious disease experts. And by taking an active role in that, I think we can all influence this problem and make it as minor as it could possibly be. If we don't take those steps and if we don't all participate, it can really run out of control.
Couldn't agree with you more, man. So well said. Thank you so much, Dr. Chuback. And coming up next in our show, I have Dr. Marilyn Singleton, and she's a board-certified anesthesiologist and past president of the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons. I'm going to pick her brain about what this whole thing is all about, the coronavirus, and what we can do to manage it. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back, everybody. This is your host, Ken Foster. And today we're talking about the courage to stay positive in challenging times. I have my guest sitting in the wings here, Dr. Marilyn Singleton. Before I get to her, I just want to give you a quick shout out to our affiliate network, UK Health Radio. Right now, they have coronavirus information on their website. It contains daily updates and information for health professionals, the public, and even the latest travel information, although I don't think too many are traveling right now. But the page can be accessed simply by clicking on the coronavirus floating banner on the homepage. You can go to ukhealthradio.com, ukhealthradio.com. I really encourage you to get your news from several sources, and this is a good source to get some another point of view, another insight. So I hope you'll check them out. Dr. Marilyn Singleton is a board-certified anesthesiologist and the past president of the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons. She graduated from Stanford University and earned her MD at UC San Francisco Medical School. And she's been on the faculty of Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland, before returning to California for private practice here at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. Dr. Singleton, welcome to the show. It's so glad to have you. Yeah, you're unmuted now. You should be able to talk.
Okay. Thank you for having me. This is a wonderful show. I'm really enjoying it.
Well, it's great to have you. You know, there's so much going on in the world right now. So, from your point of view, what are you seeing? What are you experiencing, and in what's happening?
One thing that's very interesting about all of this is how different it is in different parts of the country and in different parts of the world. And we do have to look at it as a lot of microcosms, and we are all putting all of our experience together. You have the people in New York who were so devastated, and even here in Los Angeles, even though we have restrictions in place, some of the hospitals, they're sending nurses home. One of our major hospitals is empty. So it's
because nobody. I have 6 nurses in my family, right?
Yeah.
So and they're saying, yeah, you know, people aren't showing up because they're afraid to go to the hospitals. They don't want to get their normal procedures, right?
But they can't. They
can't either. Okay.
They can't. Elective surgeries were put on hold by dictate of the government. So. And which brings up a whole nother thing. How do you decide what's elective? Are cataract surgery elective for somebody who can't see and then they trip on their rug and break their hip? Then suddenly you have an older person with a broken hip who needs surgery, and that puts them at greater risk. So, you know, so many things we get into that law of unintended consequences if we go too far.
We do. And, you know, I've looked at the numbers, so I'm glad you're here. I've looked at the numbers from on the CDC site. for flu. And, you know, it looked like from from October of last year till February 29th or March 1st, somewhere around there. They had flu cases in the United States of somewhere around, I think it was about 559,000 cases. They said up to 60,000 people died from the flu this year in America. When we compare those kind of numbers with what's going on, I think a lot of people are wondering, why is that? Do you have any clue? Why is the numbers so low with this and so high, and we didn't create an epidemic on the flu side of this?
It's very interesting. And part of it is all the media hype. Dr. Chuback had mentioned that, where he said, stop looking at this 24/7. If you put a banner on all the news programs the way they're doing now of flu, domestic violence, gang violence, drug overdoses, everyone would be overwhelmed. And it's like, what is the fascination with this? And even knowing that over 80% of people who even get this have a mild case, and that's not counting all the silent cases. Dr. Redfield guesses, and these are guesses a lot come from China, where some of the scientists who have direct communication, I think, you know, they're trusting what's coming from the scientists' mouths, not necessarily what's coming from the government's mouth, that 25% of people are silent carriers. So you talk about silent carriers, mild cases. There's really very few. And of the people who are tracking this, there's very few serious or critical cases. 5% at most are critical cases. So
that's interesting. So I guess I have the question, and I don't know if you can answer this or not. I think a lot of us have the question. So, you know, based on the numbers, why was the whole world shut down? I mean, I think a lot of us are wondering that. I don't know if you have the answer to that, but
I wish I did. And this is where I think a lot of this is more political than medical. And as a physician, we've seen our hands tied with certain things, because on one hand, we're barraged with how this is Armageddon. It's the apocalypse. Right. But then when doctors want to try something, we're told, no, we can't do it. That, you know, the FDA has to work on it for 2 years. Well, you just told me it's Armageddon. We don't have 2 years.
Well, I just, you know, in the first segment, I mentioned the interview that I saw between Bill Gates and Trevor Noah, which I saw it a couple of days ago. It's on the, if you Google it, you can see it. And in there, you know, Bill says that him and his partners are putting billions of dollars into 7 different protocols or vaccinations that will be rolled out worldwide. And basically his thought was, nobody's going to feel safe to come out to a baseball game or a football game or any sporting event or anything until everybody is tested and everybody has a vaccination. What's your hit on that?
I frankly think that's ridiculous, and it's creating fear where there need not be any. Measles, chickenpox is far more infectious than COVID-19 is. And people have been going to these games and enjoying each other through all this, even though everyone isn't vaccinated against measles. Most people are vaccinated against chickenpox. It seems reasonable, and many people, and I'm on this huge email list with multiple doctors of all specialties trying to get an answer to a lot of these things, is now that they have a test for antibodies, get people tested for antibodies. And as a lot of the research is showing, you're going to find there's a lot of people who have antibodies and they never even knew they had the disease. Let them go to work.
Yeah, in the testing area, and listen, I don't claim to know anything about testing. All I'm hearing, you know, I'm doing some research and I'm hearing several doctors came back that I listened to this week, and several of them were saying that the actual test that we're using is a test that basically can be manipulated by the amplitude of the test itself. So when we're amplifying the results, it can actually be manipulated, and that it's actually testing for organic matter, not necessarily the COVID-19. That I don't know. Do you have any comment on that?
That PCR test, and that's
PCR test, right?
Where where you amplify the amount of virus that you're measuring. The test that has been approved this week, and I honestly believe, one, people should not go to those drive-throughs and get the PCR test. Number one, you're doing it yourself, and most people aren't going to stick that swab far enough back to get a good sample, sorry. And you're going to get false negatives. And because of the way they do the test, you're going to get false positives. Just wait until the antibody test is available, and it is out there, and it just needs to be more readily available. Then you'll know one way or the other. If you have antibodies, get back out there, get to work.
I love that. I'm so glad you told me that, because I have not heard that information yet. So, and of course, I wonder how people get the antibody test, and where are they located?
Well, they are just starting to distribute them around, and CDC may have on the website which hospitals, which towns. But the interesting part about these tests is, again, they're only giving them to folks who have symptoms and whatnot, who needs to get it, and we need to get it widely distributed. We need asymptomatic people to know whether they're silent carriers, whether they don't have to be worried about it at all.
Well, listen, I got to take a break. We'll come right back. And when we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit about what your hit is on why this even what we can do to maybe prevent this virus or any other virus from attacking us. So we'll be right back. Well, welcome back to our show. This is your host, Ken D. Foster, and right now I have in studio with me, actually virtual studio with me, Dr. Marilyn Singleton, and we're going to get right back to talking with her, but did want to give a shout out again real quick to the Women's Wisdom Group in San Diego that's putting on a global networking event. They've been around since 1991. And if you're a woman business owner or an entrepreneur, you should pay attention to this. They are putting on an event April 9th at 11 to 1 Pacific time. And you can register for it at womenswisdom.net. That's womenswisdom.net. They have some celebrity speakers coming in. Mari Smith from Facebook, who travel around with Facebook CEO, founder Mark Zuckerberg for a couple of years, and also Sharon Lechter. So Sharon Lechter wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich for Women. She's part of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. You won't want to miss this. This is going to help you pivot and shift your business as a woman. So check them out, womenswisdom.net. Again, womenswisdom.net. And what else did I want to say? First of all, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I appreciate you letting your friends and family and associates know about this show. That's how we grow. And if you would like to listen to some of the replays, one of which I had one on protecting your environment for the COVID-19 in the G5 stuff that's going on, we did the last week. you might want to check out some of the replays. Voicesofcourage.us is the place to go, voicesofcourage.us. If you want to play the show, just say, Siri, Alexa, Cortana, play Voices of Courage podcast, and it'll come right up. All righty, back to my guest, Dr. Marilyn Singleton. She's a board-certified anesthesiologist and past president of the American Association of Physicians and Surgeons, and we're talking about COVID-19, what we can do to protect ourselves, and also what we can do now as a society to use this opportunity to maybe grow ourselves and change how we're doing life. Dr. Singleton, physical causes, like what's going on in the body with the patients that are getting this disease?
I'm sorry, repeat.
I said, what's going on in the bodies of the patients that are getting this disease?
Well, it's very interesting that they have found, this is the great thing, if you can say it that way, about this disease, and one reason not to panic, we do know a lot about it. It's another kind of SARS virus. We went through SARS, and good news, the first SARS just disappeared. It's one of the reasons they never made a vaccine. They had the vaccine all worked out and what they might do, and then it just went away. And I'm so hoping the same thing will happen with this. But in the body, there's certain receptors, they're called ACE2 receptors, and they know that that's where this virus clings onto. So different treatments and things that they're trying to work through, they know where to target. And that's a wonderful thing. And think about it, when we had AIDS, and I was right in the midst of the AIDS epidemic when it first came out, and nobody knew what it was. It took 2 years to figure out what it was. This, we know what it is. And remember that there's 7 coronaviruses that are always roaming around the earth, and some of them give us common colds. This one happens to be worse. And you talk about what we can do. Certainly for ourselves, you stay up on vitamin C, D, which is the downside of not going outside, zinc, and zinc lozenges, just like they sell for colds, because all these things work at the cellular level to keep those cells healthy and at the proper immune level. And worldwide, certainly something we have got to stop these animal markets, because it's called zoonosis, where you have a bacteria or a virus switch from animals to humans. And so we have these things that belong in animals and not humans. And so there's a lot of things that certainly have to change. I mean, we don't do that in the United States, but another good thing that'll come out of this is people will start washing their hands. Do you know only 63% of women wash their hands when they leave the bathroom? Oh. And to you men, only 33% of men do.
Well, I'm glad I'm not in that category. But, I grew up with a father who was, he was LAPD for 48 years. He was a very, very strong-willed man. And he had a saying for all of us after every meal. He would tell us, wash your hands, wash your hands. He that was his mantra till he died in his 80s.
There you go.
So we're finally stepping up to it. He would be very happy. I'm sure he's very happy looking down on us right now going, yes, I told you guys you need to do that. Well, that's good. There's and I don't know if you know, I have up on the research around this, but I'll just ask you anyway. 5G, some people say that, I guess there is research that Wuhan was the first city they turned 5G on. And that seemed to have an impact on this in a negative way. And the Princess Line had 5G, and the other ship that had 5G. Is 5G something we need to think about as a society, and maybe protect ourselves from this, or create something that creates harmonious, radiation flowing through us? I don't know. Are you up in that at all?
I'm really not. And I've read some of these theories, and it reminds me very much of when electromagnetic forces came out and people living under these lines, and they have worse health problems or not. And unfortunately, we're going to need a broader group of people to know whether that's really the truth. You know, just because it was introduced in Wuhan, there's also the other big thing in Wuhan, which is that lab where the virus existed.
The lab was there. You know, they had the largest flu outbreak last year. They vaccinated more people than they had ever up to that point in Wuhan. So a lot of different factors which we don't know are all of them contributing factors, or none of them contributing factors.
Exactly. And I think the two princesses are a wonderful laboratory, and I'm sure they're studying those folks, because here it was truly a petri dish, and all these people stuck together, but only 51% tested positive when they left the boat. So, and the other thing about the cruise ship, the age of the cruise ship folks is much older than society as a whole. So again, there's so many things that we have to put all this information together. And the important thing, and both you and Doctor have mentioned it, we have to look at the facts. We can't get caught up in all the external noise, and just try to remember the facts. Things that you've said, remember the flu's been out there, other things have been out there, and people have been sick before, people have died before. 7,000 people a day die in the United States. And when people talk about, oh, we have to stay in our home until it's cured, do we stay in our home until cancer is cured? No.
Of course not. Of course not. And I looked at those numbers too. 59 million people die every year in the world. Okay. 59 million people die every year in the world. So are we afraid of death? Is this what's going on in society? What's happening here? Because we don't stay indoors for the flu. We don't stay indoors and isolate ourselves for the measles or the mumps or the tetanus or whatever else is in the world. Why is it now? So like, I agree with you. I think it's a political agenda, but I also think it's a political solution that we need to step into.
And that's very true, but that's up to us.
Yeah,
you know,
that's up to us.
About things being bottom up. It's up to us, and it's up to us to say, no, this is not the new normal. This is not my normal. This is a temporary thing. And when I hear people say it's new normal, it's like, no, I am not going to live this way.
Well, if there is a new normal, it's what I talked about in the beginning of the show. We grow mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. We change our environments. We clean out some of the clutter. We practice some new habits that can really empower us. If that's your new normal, great. But if it's just acceptance of what is and feeling like the victim of the circumstance, that is not a new normal.
Absolutely.
All right, I got to run. This was great. This was so good. I hope you come back on the show. This is we just got started on this, so
would love to. Thank you so much.
That was really good. All righty. Well, listen, if you'd like to pre-order my book, you can go on couragetochange.us to get my new book, The Courage to Change Everything. And as always, if you want to say hi to us, you can do that at viewer@voicesofcourage.us. We appreciate your questions and your comments. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and all of our replays at voicesofcourage.us, voicesofcourage.us. Till next time, have a bright future. Look forward to talking with you soon. Take care.